Joe would lose his mind.
Would he?
You think he wouldn't?
We're doing a giant track brake setup on our project BMW 2002 with these huge 4-piston forged Brembo calipers in the front and matching 4-piston Brembos for the back. And our front brakes are going to be a huge 13.5-inch rotor with nearly as large of diameter rotor going in the back. We're going to try and keep it as close to $1,000 as possible. We'll reveal all the pricing in the video. You guys may have noticed in past couple episodes, it looked like the brakes were already done. They've been sitting here mounted with these 3D printed brackets. These are prototypes so that we could do an investment cast brake caliper adapter bracket. And we had to do that because the mounting ears on these big calipers wanted to interfere with basically everything in the knuckle, so they had to be basically rotated and clocked and kind of sandwiched next to them. So once this pocket's been cut for the bolt, you can mount the bracket for the caliper on, and then they can bolt right onto the knuckle. When it came time to selecting rotors, we had to pick a rotor with a really short hat height because the E46 knuckle, the sedan we borrowed the suspension from in the front, they've got knuckle mounting points that are pretty far out. So we searched and we found a very short hat height rotor. This is from a 2005 to 2009 or something like that Corvette with the HD brake package. So really short hat height, which helps a little bit with weight, but mostly it gets that caliper further out away from the inside of the knuckle, stops the interference. To do the finite element analysis that you're seeing on screen right now, we actually went backwards for our loading, starting with the deceleration rate of a Formula One car. So they pull about 1.4 Gs negative. You hit the brakes, that car slows down almost 1.5 times the speed of gravity, or acceleration rate of gravity, really. And so we backwards did that through all the stress with the loads with tire size and the wheel mounting, all the way through into the brake caliper and how far they are from the center line to figure out how much torque is on those two mounting points that are mounting the caliper adapter to the ears on the knuckle. We were able to get brackets that are extremely strong. They use M14 mounting hardware for the calipers and one M14 and one M12 to mount to the knuckle on the E46 suspension. And when we cast them, we had them cast with extra coupons, which you can see right here. And we just cut those coupons off and we sent them out for analysis. So we sent those to an outside lab, had them analyzed so that we could make sure the casting house was making the material correctly out of 42 CRMO, which is a chromoly similar to 4140. I know that's super boring sounding to you, but for a nerd like me, I love it. So that's going to give us all the strength we want out of our caliper adapter brackets, and it's going to make this nice and safe on the track. Okay, so these had a 12mm through bolt for the stock E46 brakes. I'm now tapping them to an M14. This is a 3-flute hardened tap for doing cast materials like iron and steel, so it goes right through the steel knuckle ears with ease. So now I'm mounting the bracket, the adapter that we had cast, to the forged Brembo caliper. And right about here is when Brandon signals to me that we've got some interference on the front, and so that he made sure I didn't crack it, he told me. So there it is. That's when I figured it out. So we're gonna have to clearance the inside of that. I'm gonna mark it out with a Sharpie so I don't take material off where it's not needed to be removed. And then I call this an air file. It's got a lot of names, a little baby belt sander. Love these tools. We're gonna take off that material with this. We've got a little less than a 1/16 of an inch. It's in the way, probably closer to a 32nd. So I'm carefully removing that, making sure I don't take too much off. And I find out we can't quite get all the way into the corner where we need to, sharp corner. So I just use a air die grinder to finish that job real quick, with obviously a sharp cornered cylindrical burr on it. Now that we're happy with the fitment, everything's line to line, no gaps visible, we can mount it on the knuckle and see how it clears the brake rotor. From this angle, you guys can see that there's a vertical offset from the mounting. We've moved the caliper up relative to where the OE E46 caliper mounted, which of course we had to do so that the bolts didn't, overlap but not line up. Plus we had that offset problem. So you really do have to do a lot of interesting movement to get these to coexist, to make this conversion possible. Fits great, centered on the casting. Let's mount up this wheel and make sure there's no surprises for spoke or barrel to caliper clearance. All right, we got the front done. We have the matching 4-piston Brembos from the back of that 2018 Camaro. Let's figure out how to mount them. We're actually gonna be doing a dual rear caliper setup. I wanna show you guys all about it. Before we started doing this, we of course had to get our hubs rebuilt and put into our control arms. So we put in a stud conversion, sent out brand new hubs to get zinc plated, and of course we pressed in brand new Timken bearings. So we got those into the trailing arms, and I put a brake rotor on here. This is one of the E93 brake rotors. So these are a pretty big diameter, but a little bit thinner in the front. I think they're like a 22 millimeter. But it's important when you're picking up brake calipers to make sure that they are for a similar OD, so your pads aren't the wrong curvature or hanging off. And they have to be, in my opinion, for the exact same thickness. So I made sure that I got calipers that match exactly. And we're doing a hydraulic drift e-brake. I honestly jumped on eBay and I was looking for the shortest distance between my hands because we have to mount the regular brakes. This is the front of the trailing arm. This is the back. We have to mount the Camaro brakes in the back off of the structural and safe mounting ears. And we've only got this little space in the front to work with for the drift calipers. So that's why we had to go with a really narrow drift caliper. Forged brakes are pretty small in that direction, tend to get chunkier depth-wise, but we've got plenty of room there with these giant wheels we're running. So I want to show you guys how we did this. First, we close the calipers using compressed air. That gets them so that they're centered, and you can also make sure they're centered on this casting line. And then to get the caliper so it's not rubbing on the rotor, we fold up some paper to the thickness that you want, shove it in there, and then we're going to slide that on there. Cool thing is we actually do not interfere with the stock mounting ears. It's extremely close. Kind of lucky on this one, but it does not actually interfere. So take your calipers, get some accurate measurements. We need bolt spacing and then the distance between the centers. Now we're fortunate we've got a 3D printer in our shop. We're going to be 3D printing a bracket to prototype this distance, make sure we get it right. These are also through Luck coplanar, so we don't have to actually machine these or make an offset bracket like we had to for the front. So this is going to be a much simpler application. Now that we've got our dimensions, I basically drew the mounting ears for both calipers and the mounting ears on the factory hub casting. We'll be printing that bracket, test fitting the Camaro bracket before we burn it on the CNC table. Now let's do, this is the wrong one. See, the bleeder's going to be on the bottom. You don't want that. Don't ever assume your parts are symmetrical. This one's got the bleeder on the top, which is where the air is going to go. I've already got it closed so it fits nice and snug. If it's pushed all the way onto lock, we've actually got a little bit of clearance, but again, we're not going to have it locked. We're going to have a slight gap. We can use the same gap that I used back here. I'm going to print off a piece of paper out of SolidWorks that's the same mounting ear dimension here, and I'm just going to trim it to fit and then keep modeling it and modifying it until it fits, and we'll flame cut it. Flame or plasma, probably plasma. We'll make sure that it engages as much of this steel casting as possible before we weld it on, and of course we'll have to clean that really well. But we're going to bias it a little bit toward the actual arm surface. And we're going to do that for a very obvious reason once you see this next step. This piece goes on right here. This holds our coil spring, it goes up against the bottom of the chassis. And it's a big part of the reason why you can't have a huge, fat, chunky floating caliper. That ends up putting the piston back here, and then it's just got a little claw that wraps around. Really common on economy cars and non-race application stuff and just non-expensive European things. But they are huge in the back and it would interfere with this cast control arm. So this gets out of the way. We've got plenty of room. We can even likely remove bolts without pulling the control arm because we want to think about maintenance while we're doing this. You guys just saw Brandon TIG welding the 3/8 thick Mercedes drift calipers onto the cast steel semi-trailing arms. That actually did not go exactly as planned. We started off welding those up with, of course, TIG for the process and mild steel rod ER70 S6. It just was crack city. So we swapped to some stainless rod that's good for dissimilar steel alloys, and it was still cracking a little bit. He figured out that if he filled it like extremely fast, added a lot of filler metal, it worked pretty well. It alleviated some of that tension, and as that material cooled, it didn't create a bunch of cracks and surface tension. We still did have to do some moderate preheating, and we tapered down the cooling just by insulating it as it was cooling off. It ended up working out pretty well. So now the drift caliper brackets are on, the calipers are mounted nice and tight, they're centered. I want to show you guys the clearance on the wheel and the brakes. So you can hear the brake pads rubbing. We put pads in it to make sure the clearances were all good, but there's plenty of clearance, just barely more than a finger width between the caliper and the wheel barrel, and basically the same amount behind the Mercedes caliper, and the spoke clearance on these Apex wheels is ridiculous. We have a good amount of clearance in the back for the control arm or semi-trailing arm. This was just totally convenient. I'm really happy that we've got this much clearance. We measured a little bit of stuff and kind of estimated offsets and came out with just under an inch, which is good. So we tried to keep this budget as close as possible to $1,000. We did a really good job. We ended up under $1,100, and that included those custom brackets for the front calipers. Most of the cost of this project was about $550 in used brake calipers for the 2018 Camaro Super Sport. They're kind of expensive because they're Brembos and they're just from a really expensive car. The other stuff that we spent some money on was the brake rotors from the Corvette. I didn't want to put used rotors on, so we got brand new ones. Same thing with the BMW ones. You'll notice in the beginning of the video we had some used ones. We ended up swapping those out for these ones, which were brand new. It was a couple dollars more to get them slotted and drilled, so we did. And then we put really cheap pads in to start out with. I'm calling them street pads, but they're like 25 to 30 bucks a set. So that helped keep our budget down. Our drift caliper setup was only 236 bucks. Those forged Mercedes calipers that were actually made in Germany, ultra cheap. Go get them on eBay before anybody else does. They're super cheap and they're great. And then we included in the price high performance EBC pads for the rear setup, so for the drift calipers. So our drift pads are actually already set for track, and the total on both of those came to just a couple pennies over 1,300 bucks, and that's 6 calipers.
Well, you just ruined the value of those.
Really?
Yeah, they're worth nothing now.
Oh. Good thing we don't ever plan on selling them.
Well, I hit that stance you were just hitting a second ago. Yeah! It's fun, dude. I get a little zebra stripe on the cloud of overspray every time you spray it.
I'm not gonna screw it up if I set this in there.
Oh, are you f***ing kidding me?
Did you just clog it?
It just clogged.
Get a little thing of acetone.
Right.
You get a hair in it, dude?
No, see that little spot?
Oh, yeah.
That's what happens when you paint outside. That's not gonna work. You need to get something pointy.
Jordan, we need something pointy to get a spot out of
Need a
this.
knife?
Is it gonna get orange on it?
Yeah.
It's gonna get fucking orange on it.
I'm gonna wipe it off. Oh, vegetation get in there?
Something. Oh, dude, there's a sticker.
I bet.
Joe was very upset we painted the hardware.
Was he really?
Yeah. I told him. Colin said that he would wipe it off if you were upset. And he goes, oh, really?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did say that.
Well,
What the fuck? Oh. It's flaking off that hook when I rotate it. Need the knife again. There's paint on these fucking hooks.
That makes sense.
It's like, where did that just go? God damn. This is fucked, dude.
You guys, they're brake rotors.
I know. It's fucked.
I've painted them on the car a few times. And they got compliments. So.
I'm catching a freebie over here, goddamn. Oh, wait, dude. Let's go get a fresh fucking lens, dude.
That actually would be kind of a cool way to end it.
Joe would fucking lose his mind.
Would he?
You think he wouldn't? Yellow jackets just start flying out of the yellow jacket trap.
Think I did it right? What do you think, Colin? Think I did it right?
I mean, I think you can't see them both at the same time, so...
It's okay. This is gonna look sick though. Wouldn't it be funny if we were putting Brembo on like non-Brembo brakes?
Well, that's what I was saying, dude. We should have cut Willwood stickers to put on this.
That was so funny. People have been like, what the fuck? Uh-oh. Stay on there.
Oh shit, I missed the weed in that E2.
Yeah, we'll get it. You didn't miss it on this one.
No.
Actually, I got it in pretty close to the same position. What do you think the peeps?
Oh, dude, you were gonna get so roasted for using calipers to weed.
Whatever, it's the only pointy thing in this office. Nishitoyo weeder.
World's most expensive vital tool.
Dude, that looks sick. Your hand rubbing that ball? I gotta clean that vinyl. And then in the fresh tissue. And then, yeah, we'll paint them. Paint them up. Clear coat them. Have to get some clear coat on these.
Got the stickers on.
3002 TT. 3-liter twin turbo.
The TT stickers are going to be weird though when Joe decides stock twins isn't enough power and goes to a big single.
Yeah.
Guess we can just cut one of the T's off.
Yeah, we'll just scrape it off. or no, we'll take a black X of vinyl and put it over and then clear back over it.
There we go.
I would probably go around the...
This way, right?
Yeah, but I'd try to get it in front, like where the firewall, the front fender starts.
We'll just move that forward.
Not everything always goes to plan. We had a little welded cart that had a little more than tacks on it, and it broke. The car kind of fell a little bit. We're going to pick it up and redo the cart a little bit sturdier and get the legs out of the way so we can fabricate into it.
Welcome to work this morning.
Oh, dude. It looks pretty freaking cool, though.
I know. It's very slanted right now.
I cannot believe that the front is like pretty much at ride height. Like this car is so low.
And there's still pretty good ground clearance.
Yeah, no, that's like perfect. That's gonna look sick, and it's gonna like actually
IM3's like a monster truck. Like,
Oh, we're missing a spring.
Yeah, there's no spring.
I was like,
60
what's the...
inches of ground clearance under the
So
That's
is this...
crazy.
It's
Is
a
this
monster.
hitting
It's a
block or
monster.
something?
What is it?
So what's stopping it from going up more? Is that is the shock block?
There a pump stop? No, it's not on the pump stop.
It's probably just the spring.
No, there's no spring.
Oh,
That's why I'm like, we're not bottoming the shock out, right?
Well,
No,
also
the-
there's boards
the bump
down
is
here
the
that are
rubber.
keeping it from going lower.
Oh.
Yeah, from that side.
Yeah, but I mean that'll hold the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, we still got I just want to make sure we're not bottoming it out.
Yeah,
Sometimes
no,
you
yeah,
bottom
yeah,
out.
you don't want to blow the seals.
Yeah. Yeah, man, the weight in this car is going to be very, very low. Like driver everything. So glad I got the steel toes on right now. Dead. Good. Yeah, we'll have Joe draw the line
Get a Sharpie.
so that when we cut it and it's wrong,
Dust
it's
this thing off so it's easier to draw on. Alright, so you get your center line and then figure out about where we want it. I'm going to tie a knot in this one so it's going to be a little smaller. Okay, that looks pretty good. All the way around. Give this a little bit of room.
Teddy, come here. I need you to not be pounding, and I need a set of hands anyways.
So, I'm going to go about 2.5 inches and about 3. So, we're going to go up about 3 inches and back about 2.5. Take care of our gaps. So, let's move this out to the edge. And we'll just hold it right there. Doesn't have to be balanced this way at all, doesn't matter. So, up about 3 inches, and over about 2.5.
Well, that's a lot bigger than my line. Hey, but it started at the same point.
Yeah. So, yeah, about there.
Okay,
That'll be our cut.
cool.
That'll also allow us to adjust it down a little bit if we need to. So, if we want to have it no slam.
Sweet.
Why you ruin plastic?
All the time. There's no going back now.
And I did not say the size of these.
What size is it?
Big? Just hold them out here. They're very different in weight. This one's so fucking heavy. It's all meant on our Camaro. Ah, shit. It's going so good. They only get worse from there. Yep.
Grounds here?
Sweet this sent these off. Ah, she sells seashells by the seashore.
Well, I remember it's
Audio. Oh, damn.
Bing, 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 bing.